Kenny, we can't keep you away from Goodwood now, can we?
No, it seems like it, you know, even in March. Yeah.
Good to be back in this beast.
It's great, yeah, these are great cars. It's a lot of fun to drive them, you know. It's a little bit chilly, so with the tires and stuff, you have to be really careful, but it's great. It's a great car.
Get some heat into the tyres and then go for it, yeah?
Yeah, we'll do our best.
They're phenomenal cars, aren't they? Great to be back in one.
Yeah, it is. It's a great, one of the best.
Have fun.
Thank you so much.
Kenny Bräck, of course, a winner in the Tourist Trophy, and so spectacular now at Goodwood. Going to be great to see this.
I think I prefer the Kurz-Heck, just to be different.
Kurz-Heck. We all like different things, which is wonderful. I'm not sure how many McLaren F1s were built altogether. Bill will know.
He's taking his shoes and socks off and counting.
36 race wins I totted up for them, but I'm sure Bill can produce a different number. But the first one was the opening round of the 1995 Global Endurance GT Championship at Jerez with Ray Bellman and Maurizio Sandro Sala, and that was end of February 1995. And the last one, by my reckoning, was just over 4 years later, opening round of the British GT Championship, Steve O'Rourke and Tim Sugden in the EMCA Racing Longtail. So from the dark Gulf liveried car run by GTC in 95 through to the EMCA one in 1999.
He talks about...
Pick your favourites.
That's Kenny Bräck in that car, isn't it?
He's right about the cold tyres, isn't he?
But you mentioned Maurizio Sandro Sala. I had followed that 1984 British Formula Ford 2000 championship from beginning to end, and Maurizio Sandro Sala, the little Brazilian, ended up as the champion that year of Britain. Maurizio Gugelmin, his compatriot, the European champion the same year in Reynard cars.
There's David Clark in the Harrods car. David runs Taylor and Crawley. Dealers in McLaren F1s. If
might actually be Derek Bell. I had a quick glance.
Oh, right,
they're sharing the car. I thought I saw
Derek's driving it apparently.
Excellent.
Yes,
that's good. Nick Mason should be out there in the 10/10ths car. They do have numbers on the side, but they don't mean anything to us. They do make a nice noise. That's the specially developed BMW V8 engine in the McLaren.
V12 engine.
V12 engine, beg his pardon.
And of course the FINA liveried Langheck you've just seen going through the chicane there, they did a great job, run by Schnitzer in 1997. There it is, number 38. Great guns against the Mercedes in the FIA GT Championship as it really took off very, very well indeed. Some great battles between all of those drivers that year. So Steve Soper at the wheel of that one. Tell if Marcus is warming his hands in the commentary box or just getting overly excited, but just what a field of cars here. Such a brilliant car from the outset.
You must have great insight, Bruce, because we were bowing in respect of our young lady who's brought in a fan heater. It is so cold in here, and we're now trying to fire it up.
We're trying to find power.
Oh. Malheureusement, that socket doesn't seem to want to do its stuff, but this one will. Well, the heater's dead. It's moored. Oh well. We'll just have to... we've got one going to give a drag racing demonstration up past the pits. Okay.
It's dead.
Is that the Kenny Bräck car? I think it is, yes. Kenny entertaining as ever. Oh well, the fan heater has failed, to have to huddle together for warmth.
But really looking over the history of the F1 GTR, as I said, great things in the Global Endurance GT Championship round. Oh, sideways moments on the exit and a rotation.
It was more than entertainment. It was it was something to do with auto tests. And another one's gone round. The FINA Langheck has had a spin as well. It's interesting.
But just touching on, again, the Global Endurance GT Championship, great things for Ray Bellman, Maurizio Sandro Sala in the first year, Thomas Bashir and John Nielsen keeping them honest. But that biggest win came that year, that June, at the Le Mans 24 Hours, when JJ Leto was just supreme in the wet through the night. It was a horrendous weather that June at Le Mans, but he, Yannick Dalma and Masanori Sakir came home in the Ueno Clinic liveried car for a famous win, and certainly for McLaren it was a huge boost alongside their Formula One. At a time when their Formula One wasn't going swimmingly, it has to be said. That only picked up again the last round of 1997. Sorry, the first round of 1997, when David Coulthard and then eventually Mika Häkkinen started winning, and then those 2 titles for the Finn in 98 and 99 in Formula One. But sports cars really gave them a big flag to wave in period.
At the end of this demonstration, there is due to be a spectator grid walk, so if you're keen to walk the grid, be prepared to come onto the track as soon as the McLarens, or as soon as indicated after the McLarens have finished their demonstration.
Well, that's an opportunity too good to miss. It's always a delight at Goodwood, particularly at the members' meeting, to have the run of the paddock, to see all the cars in their stalls, but to get up to these iconic cars on the grid. Cameras at the ready, and I think that's a very clear and obvious subject for all of your tweeting and other social messaging.
So I wonder what cars will be on the grid for the grid walk. Will it be these McLarens stopping on the grid, or will it be the cars lining up for race 1, the Jerry Marshall Trophy Part 1?
Well, yes, the next session after the grid walk is actually the Jerry Marshall Trophy, as you say. That's our first race of the members' meeting of 2015. It's a qualifying race to set the grid for tomorrow's single driver, and I guess those cars will be on the grid when we're invited to the grid before the spectators come out.
So that's going to be a Camaro, Capri,
yeah, a couple of Camaros up the front
Rover
there.
SD1 battle.
Yep.
That's a pretty livery, isn't it? That
It's certainly very spectacular, isn't it?
certainly is.
You want that to be sort of luminous at night, don't you?
Yeah. Appropriate number plate F1 GTR.
Yeah.
Actually, I must confess, I'm increasingly liking the papaya orangey coloured 4EB, the one with outer race livery. It looks very pretty indeed, and just the shortness of the car is really emphasised by that colour scheme.
No overhangs at all.
No.
And that papaya
Do we know which one
livery is
is
delicious, isn't it?
Nick Mason's car?
I thought his was the red one with the yellow lettering that I saw in the collection area, but I'm not sure I've seen come round on the circuit.
The red one with GTR over it.
Yeah.
I didn't see that move from the.
No, I think it
the
could still be
assembly area. Yeah.
Now, the Lark liveried car, of course, went really well in Japan, run by Team Go. Ralph Schumacher and Naoki Hattori won the opening round of the Japanese GT series in '96, and then their teammate John Nielsen and David Brabham also took victory in that car, so really shook up the Japanese environment.
Did they shoot up the lap charts, i.e. the Lark was ascending?
Yeah.
Yes, and it is quite strange. If you look at these cars side on as they go past, you see the driver seemingly so far forward in the cockpit, but of course the back part of the cockpit is where his 2 passengers would be, or his passenger and his golf clubs, set back in the seats 2 and 3 either side, but back behind him.
There's a luggage locker door behind the passenger door, isn't there, for your golf clubs?
But would you take a car like this and go, you know, I'm going to go and play golf today? Would you not get in it and go, I think I'm going to drive today? Could just be me. I think I have a point.
200 miles an hour to the golf club.
Say one club at a time, I should have thought. It's,
so is the checker flag is out.
Ready and out.
And I think these cars are going to be ushered back into the paddock. And we have to look forward to 3 for our Group C demonstration. That will be spectacular. And there's a lovely lineup of Group C cars in the pits behind the Jackie Stewart building.
The Group C cars will be coming out after the practice for the Bruce McLaren Trophy, the sports prototypes of the 60s. So they're going to be exciting. So 3 races this afternoon, and we've got the Jerry Marshall Trophy touring cars coming out approximately 2:30. The Trevor Taylor Trophy race at 16:20 for Formula Juniors, and then at 17:25 the Graham Hill Trophy, the big GT cars, a double driver race over an hour all the way to dusk, but they're interspersed with practice sessions, the Hawthorne Trophy and Salvadori Cup events making their track debut for the weekend. Well, the McLarens have certainly entertained. Brother Bill nodding in approval behind as the guru of these things. Derek Bell in the Harrods car.
How does the performance of the current McLaren P1 compare with the F1? Similar.
I guess must be broadly
probably easier and more manageable to drive.
Don't have the massive engine, do they? But I guess things have moved on 20 years. That's the point of it, isn't it? And I
think Jonathan Palmer did a lot of the development driving for the F1.
Back in the day, yes, he brought it to the Goodwood press day at Goodwood House, and we were going to get a run up in the up the hill in it, and got as far as getting in. The centre said, "No, actually, we can't have journalists driving, passenger in. Can't do it. Sorry, turfed us out. I've never sat in one or ridden in one.
That's not fair, is it?
No. Well, I can live with it."
We're joined by Mark Constanduros, who is responsible for marketing for the MAC at the famous Chelsea Walsh Hill Climb, which is the world's oldest racetrack that's always been in continuous use, apart from a couple of world wars. Since 1905. So this year, 110 years of Chelsea Walsh.
I was at the centenary, and spectacular it was.
It was, and a glorious day, wasn't it? So the F1 GTR does have indicators, as the car coming through the chicane is indicating.
Here's the banner we just saw across the track coming in for that low angle. Great angle of the McLarens coming into the pits.